This calf is the first frozen embryo calf ever born in the United States. Such use of suspended animation could revolutionize the cattle industry. By selecting genetically superior parent cows and bulls, a farmer could quickly build up a champion herd. Blood cells and embryos have survived cooling to within a few degrees of absolute zero. As the temperature drops toward its theoretical limit, molecular motion virtually ceases. Processes of growth and deterioration stop. In this state, the essence of life could be preserved forever. There are those who would like to imagine that freezing could make man immortal. The balance of temperature within a human body is incredibly delicate. A drop of only 5 degrees in body temperature brings on the potentially lethal state called hypothermia. Without adequate clothing, an injured skier is potentially in danger of losing her life. In direct contact with snow, her body will cool rapidly toward the point where no amount of exercise or clothing could restore adequate warmth. Unless she is rescued, death would then be inevitable. Dr. Paul Siegel is conducting experiments on hypothermia in rats.
We're taking the rat down to 0 degrees centigrade. We're taking him down to the ice point and seeing how long we can stay at the ice point without breathing, without respiration.
The rat's heart has stopped. Its vital signs gone. The rat is clinically dead. Dr. Siegel's assistant uses a desk lamp to warm the rat. She gives it artificial respiration.
Usually, between 15 and 18 degrees, we reestablish heartbeat, sometimes before. So in the next couple of minutes, since the temperature is rising rapidly, we should begin to see a heartbeat. That's it. We got a beat. That is a heartbeat. There's another one, yeah. Keep going, Judy. Beautiful, beautiful. All right, heartbeat established at 13.5 degrees centigrade.
During long, cold winter months, when food is scarce, some animals are able to hibernate. This suggests another approach to suspended animation. During hibernation, the ground squirrel drastically reduces its metabolic rate. To the touch, it is icy cold. Although heartbeat and breathing do not stop, they are greatly slowed. As the squirrel warms to room temperature, it gradually regains consciousness. We are only beginning to understand how some animals hibernate. As yet, we know of no fundamental barrier to human hibernation. A freeze-dried animal retains its external form years after its contemporaries have decomposed. Mammoths frozen for 10,000 years have been found in Siberia, their meat so fresh that it can be eaten. Some people have concluded that freezing and reviving whole animals might be possible. The finality of death is hard to accept. The lure of finding a window to the future is strong. In California, Art Quaife operates a cryonics suspension facility.
Just placing patients into low-temperature suspension after they've been pronounced legally dead in the hope that at some future date medical science may be able to cure whatever they died of repair any damage caused by the freezing procedure, and restore them to life. In this capsule, we have the head of a 79-year-old man who was a retired Army colonel. He died about 2 years ago of respiratory ailments and was placed in suspension by a team in Los Angeles. This capsule contains 2 whole-body patients. One is a 65-year-old Maryland man. Another is a 75-year-old Midwestern woman. Both of them died 4 years ago of cerebral strokes. It also contains the brain of a 15-year-old girl who was murdered in Berkeley in 1976.
Super 8 films and videotapes by amateur cameramen document the original encapsulation. One of the patients arrives already frozen to dry ice temperature. His body is placed in a plastic bag. It is wrapped in alternating layers of foil and fiberglass. The insulation will reduce the risk of thawing in case the liquid nitrogen in his capsule temporarily boils away. Carefully, the patient is eased into the steel capsule, where he will remain until someone tries to revive him. After encapsulation, liquid nitrogen was added. It has been replenished ever since.
Has any person or animal ever been brought back, revived after having been frozen for such a long time?
No human has ever been revived from the temperature of liquid nitrogen. We wouldn't know how to do that today. But there have been many successes with lower forms of life and less complicated organisms.
If I were interested in cryonic suspension, what would it cost me to enroll in your program?
First, you would become a suspension member of the Bay Area Cryonic Society, and that would cost you $1,000. Beyond that, you'd have to provide funding for your suspension. We recommend a minimum of $50,000 worth of funding.
If I were to decide to sign up for the program, what assurance do I have that you would keep the temperature even, that you would keep me in suspension, that you would bring me back? It's basically an act of faith.
Well, the procedure isn't perfected, so no, we can't give any guarantee. The only guarantee we can give you is that if you're put in a grave, you have virtually no chance of coming back. If you're frozen, you have some chance.
It seems very dubious to me that we'll ever be able to successfully freeze whole humans.
You have all the problems of preserving each of the separate organs of the person, and the thousands of problems with that multiplied by the thousands of different organs that are in the body. I personally don't feel that this will ever come before 700 or 1,000 years from now.
There is no exact count, but in the world today, there are about 20 frozen bodies waiting with a bare wisp of hope for the future. Most advocates of cryonic suspension are immortalists. They believe that medical science will eventually find a way to reverse the process of aging and extend our lives indefinitely. The more realistic chance of immortality, however, exists for the frozen embryo. For mice and calves, the technology already exists. The process will surely work for humans as well. It is believed that embryos could be kept frozen in suspended animation for generations. A woman of the future could choose her child from a frozen embryo bank. If whole body suspended animation is ultimately achieved, citizens of tomorrow could practice an intriguing new lifestyle. They would have themselves suspended before they grow old. Intending to sample life in centuries to come, they would launch themselves into the unknown. Millennia later, they would be revived, take part in life for a decade or so in a fantastic new world, and then continue their voyage into the future.
In search of.
The use of cold storage to preserve human sperm, embryos, and even whole people raises many ethical and social questions. Whose sperm and embryos should be saved? Could everyone afford to be frozen, or only the rich? The research in cryobiology will surely lead to life-saving medical advances. But even if we achieve suspended animation, we may not be able to deal with the unknown consequences of frozen immortality.